My kingdom is currently participating in the eve of the crusade for my upcoming KvK, and I can say confidently I've never ever been in a KvK that is as spicy as the one I am currently in. There is so much drama going on in this KvK, and we aren't even in the Lost Kingdom yet. So in today's video, I'm going to tell you all about the drama in my KvK. I'm going to tell you my KvK predictions, who do I think will win. I'm going to tell you what commanders I will use, how many stats I think I will get, and finally, I'll also tell you what I want to achieve in this KvK. So if you're interested in my upcoming KvK with Omniarch and a whole lot of drama, you want to stick around till the end of the video. Now let's start off today's video by quickly going over the basics of this KvK, the KvK format and the allies. And we'll start off KvK format. We're doing a heroic anthem. I mean, heroic anthem is one of the more basic forms of the basically fighting. It was the KvK I did last time, and it's always pretty fun. There's pretty much nothing to really worry about in heroic anthem. There's no new crazy mechanics. It's just like you've got support skills, you've got bastions and crystal tech. Pretty much that's it. And then it's just good old field fighting and flag burning. There are also 4 camps in this KvK. There's fire, earth, water, and wind. And the allies for this KvK are us in earth, allied with fire, and then wind allied with water. So 1256 and 1596 are allied with 1568, which is Omniarch's kingdom, and also 2098. My kingdom personally, 1534, is allied with 2332 and 2139 and 3086. So there is basically a top versus bottom in this KvK. Our kingdom is on the top part of the map, and then our enemies are in the bottom part of the map, and pretty much we're just going to fight like this for the whole entire KvK. So definitely pretty fair matchup, I'd say. I'll put the kill points and stuff up on the screen right now, and you can see on screen that out of all the kingdoms, the biggest is easily, I would say, 2139, with the most kill points there and the second most power. And I would say that the matchup is actually pretty equal. I mean, both camps have fairly similar power and fairly similar kill points, so these KvKs should be pretty spicy in terms of fighting as well. So that's definitely nice. Some pretty good matchmaking here, no overpowered kingdoms in my opinion. I think it's going to be a fairly close fight. So now with the basics of this KvK out of the way, let me just get into the spicy drama, all the issues that are currently arising. And the KvK hasn't even started. We're not even in Lost Kingdom yet. And the first issue really, well, the only issue, and this is the biggest issue, stems from my kingdom 1534 and their relationship with 1568, which is also Omniarch's kingdom. So I think that's pretty funny. And the relationship, I can say, is extremely sour. Our kingdom absolutely hates everybody in 1568. I haven't heard a single nice thing being said about 1568 in my alliance chat, in Discord, from the king. No one has ever said a single nice thing about them. And the drama stems from our old KvK, the last 2 KvKs ago, where my kingdom 1534 was allied with 1568. It's important to note I wasn't in this KvK. I'm just going to take the evidence that the king gave me, which I can't show, but the evidence that he gave me and the word of the people in my kingdom, where basically 1568 ended up betraying 1534, which was my kingdom. And it pretty much stemmed down to 1568 saying my kingdom 1534 was faking their DKP. If you don't know what that is, it is pretty much a point system where you show how many kills and deads you get relative to your power, and it pretty much just shows how good your kingdom is fighting. If you have high DKP, you're fighting really well. If you have a lower DKP, you may not be fighting as good. So they were saying our kingdom was faking the DKP points, and the reason this happened was because we had a higher DKP basically score than 1568 at the time. And with KvKs, if you don't know this, with Diplo, which means chatting with other kingdoms, whoever has the highest DKP usually gets the star and gets the ziggurat or the lost temple. So that's usually how that works, and obviously that usually creates a bit of drama. So because our kingdom had a higher DKP, 1568 said we were faking it, and they used 2 pieces of evidence. First of all, well, really 1 piece of evidence, and that was while the Altar of Darkness was running, we were taking a large amount of dead troops. And at another point, we also took dead troops when there was no fighting at all, and it really came down to 2 miscommunications. First of all, while the Altar of Darkness was running for our kingdom and pretty much the whole map, 1534 was still fighting in, I think it was their zone 5. So there was still definitely some fighting ongoing there, and that is why people were taking deads during the Altar of Darkness. And then the second time when people took deads was someone hit a city with their barbarian marches, and so they took like 400,000 T5 deads. Definitely sucks to be that guy, and that created a ton of controversy between 1568 and 1534, and then it pretty much ended up resulting in 1568 blocking off the Kingsland Pass for our kingdom, who were their allies by the way, and zeroing a bunch of cities and basically flexing about it. And the only time they stopped zeroing was when our king just said, alright, you can have the ziggurat, you can take the star, because if we ended up going through like a full-on camp civil war, it would have pretty much ended up in both sides losing the KvK. So pretty much what I'm going to say, I'm going to spit it out right now and get all the controversy on my channel. 1568 was sore losers, and because they had a lower DKP than 1534, there was a bunch of drama there. So I can say very confidently, our kingdom, not big fans of 1568, a lot of hatred going around for 1568, and when there was a poll sent out saying that 1568 is signing up for Heroic Anthem, should we sign up? The vote was like 110 people said yes, and then 10 people said no. So that pretty much means this whole entire kingdom is willing to destroy their accounts just to win this KvK, all over the betrayal, which I actually very much respect. So I'm definitely willing to get on the bandwagon of 1568 hate and zero my account as well for the KvK. So now, with all that drama discussed and more drama probably to come as this KvK evolves, which side do I think is going to win? And honestly, usually I'd have a prediction here, and I actually do not know. I have literally got no clue which side's going to win. I'd like to mention I think I've been in about 3 KvKs with 1256 now, which is hilarious. But besides that, I would say that there's a very good chance either side wins. I'd say there's a good chance that Earth and Fire Camp win, and there's a chance that Wind Camp and Water Camp win. Obviously, I'm going to say that our side's going to win because we're very passionate about this KvK, and I reckon that everyone would rather quit the game than lose. So I think there's a good chance just the pure motivation to beat 1568 will drive our Earth Camp to pretty much zero themselves at every opportunity just to deal as much damage to 1568. And I do hope there's a lot of fighting, like I don't hope that it's just a boring KvK, and I reckon there will be a lot of fighting, because like I said, the hatred for these two kingdoms really does run deep. There's a lot of rivalry between them, and there's also now a bit of rivalry between Onyak and I even messaged him saying I was going to zero him for the content. He's been pretty chill about it. This guy named Carl was not as chill about stuff I said on live stream. So definitely, like I said, lots of drama in this KvK, and I would expect that there's going to be a lot of heated fighting and a very, very dirty Lost Kingdom chat. So definitely not too sure who's going to win this KvK. I'm rooting for my side, obviously, like why wouldn't I? And I'm just going to say I reckon that there's a good chance either side will win, and maybe it possibly even ends up in some form of a stalemate, where everyone's in Kingsland fighting to the absolute death and no one can get the Lost Temple. That would be hilarious, and we just have to see where this KvK really ends up going. So now that we've discussed everything about the KvK itself, what about my account and my stats and my goals for this KvK? And I would say I've really got a few main goals. First of all, with my deads, I want to get 1 million. That's always really my goal. It'll leave me at about 11 million dead troops. I think 1 million is pretty fair. If we're not winning the KvK, or if I need to kill more troops, I'm happy to completely zero my account, since it is definitely a KvK that is A, worth the content, and B, means a lot to the kingdom. So I'm willing to zero every single troop I have. I'll kill all my infantry, archers, whatever it be, just to give us a chance of winning. So really, I'm willing to take 2,374,674 dead troops this KvK, but I want a minimum of 1 million deads, which I think I'm gonna surpass that number. After that, I'd also probably like to achieve around 400 million kill points. That is certainly a solid goal to go for, and with the amount of fighting that's probably going to be in this KvK, 400 million is pretty fair. And something I think that's going to allow me to do that is really that I have access to a lot more resources now. The king inflated the crap out of my account with the resources. I'm a bit down bad on gold, but to be honest, I've got a ton of pick 1 chests and stuff laying around that I can definitely get enough gold for this KvK scrounged up, so I should be perfectly fine there. So my goal for this KvK is to get 400 million kill points at the minimum. If I'm getting some good trades or really good trades, there is a chance I can push that up to even possibly 700 million. I know that's very, very, very egregious, but hey, reaching 2 billion kill points in probably my biggest KvK ever would be pretty fun. So I think there's even a chance I can push even further. Obviously, it depends when the KvK lines up. I do have exams coming up within the next 4 or so weeks, but hopefully the KvK isn't too heated by then, or we haven't entered Kingsland by that point. So I think I should be able to achieve a pretty good amount of kills this KvK. The next thing I would like to talk about is just my commander's equipment and armaments really going into the KvK. I always do this as like a quick update of what I plan to do. And last KvK I said I was going to run 3 marches. It was going to be a Nebu with a YSG. I was going to run a Henry or Zulang with a Henry and a Boudica with a Cyrus. Those were the commanders which I had access to, and those were the marches I was going to run. Realistically, last KvK I ended up running Boudica YSG and Zulang Henry, and I was only able to use those 2 marches because my Nebu with YSG was very weak and it had worse gear, and Nebu, as you can see, didn't have many skills on him at the time. So that was definitely a little bit of a downside for me in that KvK, and I was not able to run as many marches as I wanted. But this KvK, I've pretty much got the best archer commanders I could get. Literally, I would say the best that I can have. And this KvK, my plan is to run a Zulang with a Herman. This is probably going to be my bread and butter, highest damage, craziest march. I'm going to run a Henry primary with a YSG secondary, and I'm going to run a Boudica with an Assure Bunny Pile. This is going to be probably my strongest murder ball I've ever taken out on the open field, and I reckon that it's going to do pretty good. Hopefully by the time the KvK really does start to heat up, my Assure Bunny Pile will be like 5-5-5-3 or something, moving towards that expertise, which is insanely powerful. So this KvK I reckon is going to be pretty good in terms of the marches that I run, and I shouldn't have one march that is crazy weak compared to the other. In terms of equipment, my equipment has also developed a lot through the off season. I spent a ton of gems on my equipment. I'm kind of focusing on it a lot more, and as you can see, I have almost got a second full set of legendary equipment on my Henry here, and my Boudica is pretty much in the same spot. The only thing she's really missing is the accessory. So I think that over the coming KvK, I'm going to be able to pump up my equipment a little bit more, since that's where most of my gems will be going. And I got this amazing talent on the Hydra's Blast as well, which will certainly help this current gear set. Over time though, this is going to change. I'm going to try and find the best spot for my equipment. Some of it is currently a little bit mixed up, so I'm not 100% sure exactly what I'll be running, but it will be something very similar to these 2 setouts, and then my full Dragon Breath set, which is on the Zulang, which I guess is technically my strongest set, but also you can argue that my Boudica set will end up being a little bit stronger. In terms of armaments, I mean, my armaments are pretty good. I'm using Arch Formation on Boudica just because I've got some insane inscriptions on it, and because it's just got ridiculous stats. And then I'm running on my Henry Wedge Formation, obviously. I mean, it's usually where you'd go. His armaments and formations, they're a little bit weaker than my other marches. As you can see, some of them are a bit mixed up in terms of stats. And my best armaments are, I would say, on my Zulang. There is a talented or legendary inscription here. There is a pretty good weapon, a pretty good, like instrument right here that I didn't place on my Zulang, and now it is there. So I've got also a rare inscription, and then I've got 2 other inscriptions and fairly decent stats all round. I am probably gonna try and replace this right here, the Honors of Pantheon, which is my weakest piece currently on the Zulang, and I'm going to try and find a slightly stronger piece. I'll have to do a little bit of math looking at the better stats there, but I think I will find one that is going to be slightly more powerful. So really, these are the armaments and equipment that I'll be running, and I reckon all the marches should be trading pretty good. I will also like to mention I'll only be running T5 on my Herman with the Zulang because that is the strongest march, and the rest will be rocking tier 4 units just because they're not going to be my main focus. If they get taken out, they get taken out, but I'll be more focusing on keeping that tier 5 march alive and managing that one a little better. The last thing I would like to mention is my speed ups. I currently have like 400-ish days worth of speed ups I can use for healing, and I think that's a fairly good amount. I usually don't go through anywhere near that many. Obviously, this KvK, I'm going to try kill as many troops as I can and fight as much as possible, but I think the speed ups I have will be more than enough for my account size. And usually when I fight, I'm a bit more conservative with my resources. I'm not as aggressive, and I don't run full T5. So that means all these speed ups should be going to pretty good use, and they should get used up fairly adequately. Last KvK, I still had like 100 days worth of speed ups left, and I started off with like 200 days, and I managed to get around 300 million kill points. So I think that this KvK, with the amount of speed ups I have and the amount of resources, if I go all out, I should be able to get just a ridiculous amount of kills and a ridiculous amount of deads as well. So I am quite excited to see where I can push my resources and how far I can go with the little amount that I have, I guess, compared to someone like the whales out there. So now that we've made it to the end of today's video, I just want to let you guys know you should definitely subscribe for the channel with the crazy upcoming drama. Like I said as well, I will be 100% down to 0 Omniarch City, and if you're subscribed, you'll be able to see me do that. So if Omniarch is ever off territory, I'll be the one that's rallying him, hopefully, and I'll be recording it and everything, and I'll just be telling you about all the drama in this KvK. So to Carl, thank you for giving me the video idea about all the drama, and to everyone else that's going to be inside this KvK, I wish everyone the best of luck. I do hope our kingdom wins. I mean, I think that's pretty fair to say, but I am quite excited to see where this goes, and this is probably going to be my first controversial KvK where I get a bunch of allegations thrown at me and a bunch of people get really angry in my comments. So I can't wait to see where this goes. And if you want to see this KvK live, because I'll be streaming it as much as I can, you have to subscribe to the channel. Now I just want to say thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.